What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. Hope everyone's having a good night. If you're living in Tennessee, you're probably wondering how we go from 70-degree weather the past couple of days to now it is absolutely freezing outside. I mean, just in the time today, I drove home with the windows down. After I got home, I just changed into some shorts, put on my tennis shoes. My wife and I were going to take baby girl on a walk, and got no more than the time of me coming in, changing into shorts, and us getting out the door. We start walking up the road, and we are both like, it is freezing out here already. And we barely made it down the road any, and we were like, we didn't dress her for this. I didn't dress for this. My wife had a coat, had it, the drawstrings pulled where it was tied around her face. Like, I was like, okay, this is insane. Tennessee weather. I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to get it together.
Chill out. I mean, Groundhog, I need you to redo. I need a redo button of Groundhog's Day or something, because I had taken Nate to soccer practice at 6, and it was maybe 56, 57. It was maintainable. It was like you could get through it.
Right.
By the end, I was in a Titans toboggan. I was in this hoodie. Nate was in a toboggan, a jacket, long sleeve pants. I even had thermals under his pants. And then the coach came over. It was like it had dropped to like 40 something. By the time we left, it was in a wind. The wind itself was just unnecessarily cold. And I'm just like, man, last week at practice, it was a crisp 65, almost 70. And I'm like, you go and you pull this? Like,
right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's going from 70-degree weather to, supposed to get like 2 to 3 inches of snow. Like, I don't get it. But everyone, as y'all can see, we have Stephani back with us tonight. We're going to have a great show, breaking a lot of things down. Y'all make sure to go give her a follow on Twitter. She actually has her Twitter handle right there on right next to her name. So y'all go give her a follow if you're not already. To support our show, go check out our merch. All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections/all. That will be linked down in the description, so it's easy to find. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to exit the live chat. Hit the like button first. We really appreciate that. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload a video. If you're listening to the audio version after it comes out, make sure to rate us 5 stars, whether it be on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on there. Like I said, rate us those 5 stars. We really appreciate it. Leave us some comments, questions. Coming back to the YouTube folks, blow up this live chat tonight. We want y'all's opinions on everything too. If you're watching this video on a replay, leave comments there. Like I said, we love that interaction. You can also find us on social media. Our Twitter is Titans_time, Instagram Titans Time Podcast, and Facebook Titans Time. And Stephani, like I said, we got a great show. We're going to start out the show by talking about your Super Bowl experience, getting to go out there. Because, I told you beforehand, hey, we're going to have to get you back on to talk about this. Then the week that you get out there, I see you posting all this delicious looking food on Twitter. And I'm like, okay, Stephani, you're going to have to cut it out. I'm sitting at work right now and can't have that. So, I'm jealous of the Super Bowl experience, and then also this good food that you're posting here.
It's crazy. Like, it was I had a whole list prior to going to California of food I wanted to try out in California. Like, the Super Bowl was amazing. Like, let's just get that away. But the food, like, I'm such a foodie, and so, like, to be able to try places I know I may not get to try unless I go out to California. Oh, right. Icing on the cake.
See, you thought of something that I wouldn't have thought of, because my mind I'd have been like, oh man, Super Bowl. And then I'd have got out there and been like, oh yeah, I got to go eat somewhere. Like I hadn't really thought this through. So, you know, props to you for preparing for that and thinking, okay, I'm going to be out here finally. Here's what I'm going to go make sure that I try.
At
So
least
we'll
once. At least
it,
once.
exactly. So we'll talk about all that. Then, of course, we had the combine that happened, and you know, crazy times by defensive backs, receivers. You got a defensive tackle that is just massive, running just as fast as linebackers and some other guys. And I'm like, dude is like, he should not be able to move like
They're
that.
definitely built different this
that,
year. They're definitely built differently.
that they are. And then last couple days, trades like crazy. We've seen some players resign. We've seen some players be let go. So we're going to be diving into all that, and it's just like I said, it's going to be a fun show. Like I said, we got to start off with talking about the Super Bowl, that whole experience out in California. So tell us all about it, Stephanie.
Well, we'll start out with getting up bright and early, uh, 3 a.m. for a 7 a.m. flight. Never been on a plane before. It's definitely it was an experience. They put me in first class. So they completely spoiled me from ever taking a trip outside of first class ever. Like thanks, friends. You really did that one for me. I mean they give you a they the seats are spacious. You've got
Mm-hmm.
leg room. You're literally I think the front that area only has like 8 to 10 seats, so you're
Mm-hmm.
not there's not that many people.
Right.
I think it's like 10 seats in first class, and then they bring you food and the drinks. I'm telling you, I had a would have a mimosa, and it was this big. Like they really make sure that you are comfortable on the flight.
Right.
So that was just great. And then we get to sunny California. Um, the travel there was different. It really is different to be on the in the air because you could just kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel the plane goes like this and this. So you could
Yeah.
just, you can feel it all. But definitely a nice, easy plane ride. Got there. LA is definitely fast paced, fast traffic. It California runs on its own time, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Like we get there, we get to the hotel, we check in, and then we're immediately whisked off to all the activities that we got to do. There wasn't much time for you to I think like Saturday was maybe the only time that you actually got to, do something outside because they had so many things like
Right.
between the like the appearances, and there was like a party in another hotel that they host that they ended up giving us Letterman. I mean let's talk about let me real quickly talk about the gear. Captain Morgan and the NFL hooked your girl up. Like I've got a NFL official football that has Captain Morgan Fan of the Year and my name on it.
Oh.
I got an official letter from John Robinson. They have me a Captain Morgan Fan of the Year long sleeve shirt, and then I got also a quarter zip, and then they sent me home with a Super Bowl a program from the Super Bowl, and so like I said, all the and then the Letterman's jacket, all the
Mm-hmm.
merch from that you ended up leaving with. Glad I didn't pack as much because I needed all the room that I could fit in that suitcase. But yeah, went up there with a with the mindset of doing all our activities, the
Mm-hmm.
NFL experience. The Super Bowl experience was so cool, getting to see like the Lombardi Trophy, the AFC championship.
Mm-hmm.
They had that trophy. I think it's the Lamar Hunt trophy. Um, and they had a bunch of stuff, had the players. Um, Funny story, me and Kyle, who went with me on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Alabama with Trayvon Diggs.
Oh.
And so we were going to go get food because Trayvon Diggs was supposed to be in a appearance just right across the
Mm-hmm.
way. So we go in, just mind our business. We go in, go get some food. And then all of a sudden, Kyle turns around to me and he's making motions with his face. I'm just like, I'm hungry. I just want to get my pizza and move the line. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not reading social cues, none of that whatsoever. And then I turn around and there is Trayvon Diggs behind me scarfing down a cheeseburger. Like, he's just like, he got there late and they were just trying to get him in. And I
Right.
didn't notice it. So we move over to the side. We end up getting a picture or whatever like that. But I didn't know that Trayvon Diggs was just just standing right behind me. It was great. I'm telling you, you do not know who you're going to run into in LA. Like
Right.
you have no clue. Like we were literally 2 feet away from the cast from Good NFL Good Morning,
Oh
Good
wow.
Morning Football.
Hmm.
And so, and then you see just everybody. Michael Irvin came over and did a speech right in front of us. So I have a
Oh
video
wow.
of Michael Irvin doing a speech. And then, Kurt Warner's right there.
Hmm.
It's just insane. The people that we got that close to
Right.
during this whole weekend. And then top it off, SoFi Stadium, Super Bowl Sunday. When I tell you that stadium is immaculate,
Mm.
it is immaculate. Like I can understand why they had the Super Bowl there because it's just a beautiful stadium, beautiful. And so we walk in and I'm taking photos and I'm like, these photos even look fake for me, but they're real, like they're real photos. And then
Right.
they told us we were going to be down there for a program. Like my feet get to stand where they're hosting a Super Bowl. Like mind blown, just epic mind blown. Like I couldn't I couldn't even fathom it. And then over the corners we were leaving, there's just Aaron Donald stretching out over there on the corner of the end zone, just stretching, just having a good old time. And I'm like, I saw him, I saw Matt Stafford, insane. It football's fantasy, just reality at that point in time, just reality, crazy.
Yeah, that like you said, just I, I mean, easy to probably be starstruck out there because, like you said, being out there when you turn the corner, you never know who you're going to see. Getting to go out on the
Mhm.
field, we got Titan Anderson in the chat here saying,
Hey,
"What's up?
Tyler.
How's it going, TA?" He, was at the he was in SoFi Stadium when the Titans went out there and took on the Rams, and he was
It's
posting pictures,
electric.
and
It was
you know,
electric.
so he knows how crazy that stadium is,
Mhm.
and speaking of stadiums, apparently it has been decided that the Titans are going to be, they're going to move forward with building a new stadium beside Nissan Stadium, hoping to have it done by 2026. So I'm interested to see what they actually have
The
planned for
layout.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see a layout, a concept of
Hmm.
what it's gonna look like. I think that's gonna, I feel like that's just gonna catapult us because if we ever want to host a Super Bowl, we're gonna
Hmm.
have to have a because like going to SoFi, like seeing their stadium, I'm like, how do you compete? You have to either which, like I said, remodeling was just going to cost more than building a whole new
Hmm.
stadium. So at that point, your hands are kind of tied. And I'm just like, you guys have to do something because going out and seeing where they're hosting Super Bowls now is
Right.
just we have to find a way to compete with that. And I'm like, I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be fun. I feel like we're in a new era. This is gonna be exciting. It's gonna be interesting. And then the quick little tidbit just about LA. If you're ever
Hmm.
out there, try Randy's Donuts. Immaculate. To take a picture, the big donut is there. It's real.
Right.
And I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but Berea Tacos. That was another picture that I posted on my social media. It was absolutely amazing. Like all the food I had up there, very good, very good.
Right.
So shouts out to LA for the amazing food, eclectic, so many choices. I was just sitting there like, how am I going to fit in my food schedule with all of this? But I'm able to do it somehow. In and Out, I wanted to try that because I knew I was not going to be able to try In and Out.
Right.
It was good. It lived up to what In and Out's supposed to be. Their menu is literally 5 or 6 choices, and then
Mm.
they have their shake. So you
Right.
really can't wiggle outside of any of that.
Yeah. That I think the donut was the picture that really got me
Oh,
because,
yes, it was a s'mores
uh,
donut. I
yeah,
will never forget it.
I saw that and I was like, I think I even commented on. I was like, okay, Stephani, like now you can't be doing that. Like I can't just go out here where I live and find a donut like that. Like
Mm-mm.
now
They
you
don't
got me
do
wanting to go to California just for a donut. Like uh
it. Love it.
and
Love it.
let's see, got a couple more comments here. JK, we really about to get a dome. Just stay at Nissan Stadium. Well, JK, here's what I'm gonna say because yes, I know everyone has their opinion on this, and I know a lot
Mhm.
of people. I've been like this before. Football, play it out in the elements, all of that. And I do see your other comment, and I'm gonna let you comment about this because, like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but people do care about hosting a Super Bowl because it's not just about the stadium's not just about your team playing in it. It's also about what the stadium can do for the city. So if you have events that if I'm not saying it has to be, a dome, it can have a retractable roof,
Oh,
all
I
of
would
that.
love a
So
retractable roof.
yeah, that way, you can still have the sun come in, everything, open that thing up. Doesn't just have to be a dome, but it brings so many more opportunities to the city of Nashville. You can have the Super Bowl, which is a major event. I mean, that's going to draw in so much money to the city. You could compete to possibly get like the SEC championship game for football, just so many different things it opens up that possibility for. And not to mention if apparently something is wrong with Nissan Stadium because they wanted to renovate it. And if it's going to cost just as much to renovate it as it would to build a brand new stadium, then build a brand new stadium.
Build a brand new
I
stadium.
mean, then you can do all the bells and whistles that you want to do. It's brand new. You're not just trying to renovate. So I again, thank you for the comments on that, but there are several benefits to a new stadium there. And then we have Albert Martin. What's up, Tyler? How's it going, Albert? Seeing some fresh faces in the chat tonight. If y'all haven't already subscribed, y'all exit the live chat for just a minute. Go hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. I really appreciate that. And my wife in the chat, I'm really excited about all the opportunities that a new stadium would bring to Nashville after the tornadoes, bombings, COVID, etc. Nashville needs a push. We are
They
trending that way.
definitely do. They definitely do. And now, like saying someone who's been to a Super Bowl, what it does for the city itself. I mean, you're not only getting the Super Bowl, but you're getting the experience. You're getting a chance to go and create history with other people. Even if you don't
Mm-hmm.
go to the Super Bowl, there's the NFL, the Super Bowl experience, and that's like
Mm-hmm.
like a 20 it outside of fan of the year that only costs like 20-40 bucks. Like you could go
Right.
out, you could potentially get signings. There's stars that come out. There's all types of events they have
Mm-hmm.
leading up. Very kid friendly. I can't tell you how many activities they have for children. So I
Right.
mean, I think that would just bolster. And we have a good 4 or 5 years before
Mm-hmm.
the stadium even could come to be. So plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do, what they're because there's so many workings. It's not just about the stadium. They're going to have to handle PSLs. They're going to have to handle seating. There's so much that's going to go on during that time. And just think about maybe the cool events leading up to the grand opening of a new stadium. Like
Right.
I just think that the possibilities for this are going to be absolutely endless, and Nashville, I think, deserves that. Like we've built a soccer stadium. Every team, I feel like, has their own thing and
Mm-hmm.
their own new area, and I think it's time for the Titans to have their new area. Like I love it. I can't
Right.
wait. To see it.
Yeah, it's just so many exciting things going on. I do now after talking about your Super Bowl experience and just a Super Bowl is definitely something that I want to make it to
Mhm.
one day, just to have that experience. And of course, for me, it's probably more of, you had the fan of the year stuff, and that is amazing. So deserving for you
Thank
to
you.
get that with lot everything. And I know the only I I don't know if it would have made it better if the Titans would have been there, because then you would have had probably stress of
Oh, my friend
cheering them on.
Amanda, who is the Rams fan of the year. Shout out to Amanda.
Uh-huh.
Watching her the entire game, I I prayed for her every 5 seconds because every throw, every catch, every yard gained or lost, I just could see the panic on her. Like
Right.
I feel like I don't know if I could have really enjoyed the game. Like she was sitting up on top of her seat. And I mean,
Right.
there was a guy behind me who I guess had been a Rams fan for a very long time. And at
Mhm.
the end when they won, his wife had to hold him up because he was almost on the ground. Like it was, when I say it was just emotional, it was
Mhm.
emotional. Like I had, for me, it was, the whole experience was fun. The halftime show was kind of where
Right.
I absolutely loved it. But the my Super Bowl happened at the Honors Awards the night
Mm.
before. And
Right.
that was when I yelled. And apparently I yelled so loud that Coach Vrabel heard it
Right.
and talked back to me on national television. And I forever will say that is on my DVR. I will never delete it. Like, just to know, like, he actually heard and he knew who
Right.
that probably was that was yelling. And then all I heard was pings on my phone 2 seconds later. I know that was Stephanie yelling on the TV. I can't believe I heard you. And I'm like, my life is completely at that point set in stone made. Like I don't think I could surpass that moment in time. Uh, it's on
See,
national TV for the rest of my life.
seeing all the videos of that and everything, that was like that was such an awesome moment, because you know, I mean, no one's expecting it.
No,
I and Vrabel, he took it in stride. Like you said, he probably knew it was you, and just the at a girl like that. Vrabel doing really what Vrabel's probably the only one that could play that off
oh, 100%.
like that, and go with it. So yeah, that I could definitely see that being like your Super Bowl moment, and that's what I was gonna say. If I ever make it to a Super Bowl, it's I gotta go there to, as stressful as it would be, to watch the Titans. And I
Oh,
know,
for
like I
sure.
said,
For
I know, like I
sure.
said, you were probably torn on that because you were hoping, man, I might possibly get to see
It,
our
it
boys
felt like
playing, but
the pieces were falling into place. Like it was
right,
just a weird serendipity type of situation. And like granted, if the Titans ever make it, I'm just gonna have to take out a second mortgage or possibly rent my kid out, to
right.
other people that like, hey, rent a kid, if you want to
Yeah,
experience parenthood for a day, rent a kid and see what happens with that. They'll probably bring them home, but that's beside the point. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to like sell an arm and a leg because where I was sitting, which was
mhm.
up in the 500s, was $7,000. That
Yeah,
was the cheapest ticket was 7 grand or almost like 72, 7,300. That
right.
was the cheapest ticket.
I know a guy at work. He would call me into his office and get to talking to me about it. And he was like, "I found you some Super Bowl tickets," and he started showing me prices. I said, I, I don't. Are you buying it for me or what? Because I can't pay that for a ticket. Like that is insane. And like you said, he was showing me tickets where when you pull it up, like where the seat is, it's like very tip top of the stadium,
Oh yeah.
very back row. And I'm like, that $8,000 seat right there is probably one that's gonna have like a pillar blocking the majority of the
I'm gonna
game,
tell
or
you,
like half the field.
I think I was maybe 10 or 11 rows from that spot. Like we were up there. And when I tell you I'm
Right.
afraid of heights already, I
Hmm.
really had to get over it real quick because there was nothing I could do about it. It was so high. It was so high. I mean, great, great area. I love the fact that they had three different level NFL shops. They had NFL shops on each section. They had you would go down the stairs from your section, and there would be food courts right there. And then they had this massive NFL shop that took down the whole bottom area. And it was just, when I tell you they really went all out for that stadium, they did. Like when you see SoFi and you see that ring where
Mhm.
I was how high I was face to face with that ring. That's how high we were. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't do well with heights either, so that uh, yeah, that I'm right there with you. I'd be looking at that thing like
It was
I
fun.
am I am way too high up in the air. Like
I
so
didn't move
now
much. I took a couple pictures. Somebody's like, "Hey, because Jim Watt had done an interview with me while I was there, and he's like, "Hey,
Mhm.
can you send us a picture of you and Kyle with the stadium behind you?" And I'm like, "You mean I need to get up and face
Yeah.
my back to this high altitude area and
Right.
me not freak out?" And then all of a sudden, it was just like I turned around and someone behind me said, "I'll take your picture," and I was like, "Thank goodness," because I'm not standing up.
Yeah.
It was so weird to see Jim in a suit because he was
Mm.
dressed up for the Super Bowl. I'm just like,
Right.
I'm so used to seeing him in casual, so it was nice to
Yeah.
see dressed up Jim. It was cool. Like it was really fun. But I'm just like the heights. I just like when we go to the Titans games.
Mhm.
I don't. The high seats are a nice price, but I
Right.
just it's so high up. Like
Yeah.
mm, no.
Yeah, my wife got lucky with our season tickets, which, she surprised me with them for my birthday and,
Oh, she's a real
didn't
one.
yeah, did and because this was back when it was back in 2020
Mhm.
when she surprised me with them. January of well, maybe it was January of January of 2020. And it was, she didn't really ask. I don't remember her asking like where I would want to sit, but just kind of in talking before, I had told her, I had mentioned to her I'd love to someday get season tickets for them.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't think I could do the 300s though. I was like, because I'm like, for one, I want to be down closer to the field where I can see more of what's going on.
What's
I
going
said,
on?
and two, I don't like heights,
Mhm.
so and she lower bowl is where we're at. We're up enough to where we're not just like level with the field,
Mhm.
and kind of perfect spot for us starting out. And I was like, okay, you done great. Like
That was a great
yeah,
that was a great section. Like I think after the first game I ever went to, which was a couple years ago, shouts out. There was a guy I met, him and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother invited me to a Houston game a couple years ago, and that was the
Mhm.
one of the first of the newer games that I've been to in a long time. And he's like, hey, and I'm not going to turn down a free ticket.
Right,
And I didn't ask the section. So we go and it's like section like 313, like triple Y or something. It was up
right,
there. Like it was up there. And I remember having to climb up there. And then once you get settled, I'm not gonna lie. The upper seats, once you get settled,
mhm,
probably the best view I've had of the game because you get to see the whole stadium.
right,
And obviously because of the two big windows you or two big screens you'll get to see up close, but it's kind of like
right,
that all 22 view of what they do
mm,
afterwards. But yeah,
right,
other than that, I'm just kind of like, I like to be lower to the ground type of person when it
yeah,
goes to the games, just a little bit.
right. Well, I know I've seen pictures people have posted from being up in that 300 section, and I just look at like how steep the
Steep it
steps
is.
look, and
But
eh,
I will
I'm
tell you they're that
I'm like,
steep. They're that steep. I was so
yeah,
scared. I had to crawl on my hands and legs to get up to the seats because I was already starting to freak out and I was trying not to make too much of a scene. But when I tell you the stairs get steep, they get steep. That's
yeah. See, I knew looking at pictures and saying, I'm like, there's because where we're at, when we sit down, our knees are hid behind the seat in front of us and everything.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at the 300 level seats, and I'm like, the only thing covered by the seat in front of me is my feet.
That's
Like,
it. That's it.
I'm like, no, like if for some reason I lose my balance and fall forward, like there's no catching myself. Like I'm falling
Mm-mm.
on people. Like no, I'm good.
That's real life. That's real life,
Yeah.
though. That's real life.
So jumping into some combine talk
Mhm.
is, and I know the draft isn't here yet, but where do you think the Titans go in the first round after? Uh, I'm not sure. Seeing the combine and everything. Do you think the Titans need to go tight end? Do you think they need to go receiver? Because I know to me, like watching the combine and everything, and hearing all these people talk about the tight ends and watching them out there, you could get a tight end in these middle rounds
Oh yeah,
from what it looks like to me. And I mean, it looks like a very, they talk about some of the past drafts over the last couple of
it's a
years. Okay,
skill
this is a good,
position. It's a
yeah, like
skill
this,
position sort of year for me.
yeah, like this is a good quarterback year. This is a good receiver year. Well, this seems like it's a good, like you said, just skill position year.
Mhm.
There's a lot of receivers. There's a lot of tight ends. I don't think they have to make a move to either move up or anything like that to try and get a good tight end. But where would you like to see them go in the first round of the draft after watching the combine and all that?
To be honest, I would like them to take that first round pick and trade it and move back and pick up maybe an extra second and an extra third. I feel like for a team that really needs players, they're going to give up some stake for that first round pick, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's the 26th or 27th pick, whichever one that we're in at this point in time. But trade back because I feel like our second and third rounds are where we find our gems. Like it's just every
Right.
year it's right there. And I also feel like most of the tight ends, wide receivers that we may need are still going to be on the board in the second round because I feel like we flip fairly early in the second round. So I feel like just take that first round, pick up some extra second, third, or even fourth round, whatever you can get. Because I'm pretty sure somebody, if they really want somebody, will happily give you a nice little haul of picks for that
Right.
first rounder. I don't really see us. If we do, it's not going to surprise me if it's an offensive lineman. I'm just. That's just the mo. That's the way it
Right.
goes. So I'll be hard pressed to say if it's not. If they don't trade back, that it's going to probably be an offensive lineman.
Yeah. So I know that since they acquired Julio last year,
Mm-hmm.
right now we don't have that second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see, unless there is a receiver that just really caught their eye, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, if that guy is still there at 26, we're going to take him. Like if that's the case, okay, I'm fine with that. But at the same time, if that guy's not there, or if you think he'll be there a couple picks later,
Just get some
Trade,
secondary.
yeah, trade back, maybe pick up a late first round pick and also a second round pick, and then you could maybe do the receiver, tight end in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Just what, but I'm for trading back as well
Mm-hmm.
and getting those extra picks, unless, like I said, they've just fallen in love with the guy and think, okay, this is going to be him.
He's worth the first
Uh,
round, which is
right,
it's going to be crazy to kind of see who, if they do pick, who it may be. But like you said, just trading back and picking up a second, I think would be a big W because, like you said, they don't have one. So
right,
I feel like being able to get a second round pick would be very beneficial because we could pick up who may have not made it. Because I feel like when guys who feel like they're supposed to be in the first fall to the second, they play with the biggest chip on their shoulder. Like
mm-hmm,
they just have something to prove from the jump because they're like,
yep,
I should have gone in the first round. Why am I in the second? And they just feel some type of way and they're like, I need to
right,
show all of this and all of this. Um, and also it just kind of seems like, between like I trust John pretty much 99% of the time, but like
mm-hmm,
our second through fourth, fifth round, even sixth, I feel like we find like the best sixth round picks.
yep,
Um, And it just feels like later on in the draft is where John does the best damage for the team, quote unquote, like the
Right.
best thing. It's crazy who they pick up because they find guys with that team player mentality. I feel like they
Hmm.
can scout out, like you said, he's had some whiffs, obviously, but
Right.
what GM hasn't, But when you compare, it's really crazy to see that this year is going to be mainly focused on the offense because the
Right.
defense is pretty much set. Thank goodness, it's nice to see us not having to worry about the defense for
Right.
the season. Knock on wood. Hope. I feel like they still may pick up some depth if they find something in the later rounds, but it's going to be nice to pick up some offensive pieces. And other thing about the combine, real quick, I listened to a few interviews, and
Mhm.
growing up as a fan, we were around when Taylor Lewan got drafted, when a
Right.
couple other players got drafted, and then you hear in the interview, well, I grew up watching Taylor Lewan, and I want to be like him, and I want to be like Julio, and I watched AJ, and I'm like,
Right.
is this the tide that's turning? Like, is this what this is? Like, what is going on? Like, I
Right.
feel like at that moment it hits you at how old you are, how old
Hmm.
you've grown with the Titans when you hear people are just like, I grew up watching this. I grew up watching this person.
Right.
I like this, and this. And I was just like, wow, you really loved Taylor. Because there was one offensive lineman who said he built his college career watching Taylor Lewan. And I'm like,
Hmm.
Taylor's been in the league that long. Like,
Right.
for real. And then he's like started mentioning Roger and everybody like that. And I think there's a speedy slot receiver that I really like from Tennessee. I think he's been a fan favorite for a
Hmm.
while. I'm gonna mispronounce his name, Olive, something like that. Um, I'm trying to
Uh.
remember his last name. But he's a speedy slot receiver. Like, he's definitely on the shorter end, but I feel like that to me is a big need because we have such big wide receivers. We need
Right.
somebody who can be can balance between a punt returner and that speedy slot receiver that we need for those downs. So I liked him, and then he was just like, man, I've watched Julio and I've really watched AJ, and I'm like, man, I remember when they drafted these
Right.
guys you're talking about. Like, I watched the draft, so I'm
Right.
just okay. Let's do
Yeah.
this. This tide has turned. It's so crazy.
So I do think if the Titans take a receiver, we need that guy that is more of a slot guy that's quicker, can
Quick.
stretch the field for us more. You have some guys who, which got to go back and watch more of their college stuff because for me, I'm more focused on the NFL. I like watching the NFL games
Oh yeah.
better. Don't watch that many college games. If I do, it's usually watching the Vols. But you have Velus Jones from Tennessee, who he had a
Mm-hmm.
4.31
Woo.
40, and then you have the uh, which the guy from the wide receiver from Memphis, Calvin Austin,
Austin. Yep,
the
I heard
third.
he's a fan favorite too.
He is fast. He's 4.32, and then you have from Ohio State. Another name that's been mentioned is that Chris Olave, or however you
Yeah.
say
Okay.
his
So
name.
yeah, he is from because I know I
And
pronounced his name wrong. I just know he's been talking nothing about the Titans since he's got to the combine. So
and,
that's what.
and the crazy thing about his time was when they clocked his 40 unofficial, they had him at like a 4.26. And then the official time come out and it was a 4.39. And it's like, okay, that's kind of a big
A big jump.
jump.
That's
Like, somehow y'all got way off. But, you know, is there anyone from the combine, I guess, that stood out to you the most? I know for me, which it's not even a guy that I would want the Titans to take. He probably won't even be there. But it's the defensive lineman from Georgia who is 6'6", 350 pounds, and running a 4.78 40.
it was
And
when I saw that run go down, it was insane. But I'm actually going to have to go with I didn't get his name because, like I said, I didn't watch too much of the combine.
Mhm.
But it was a punter, and
Oh yeah,
he was the fastest punter. Like he was running like wide receiver speeds. Like, and I'm just like, I get it. I understand why people wait to draft, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not gonna be. I really, I really kind of want them to draft a kicker, like a
Right.
kicker, a punter, somebody to come in because Brett Kern is not getting younger.
Right.
If they have him on a 1 year deal, I'm not. I would honestly, if you could draft a punter from this year, special teams is coming out hot also in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Draft a punter, draft a kicker, somebody that can, a punter that can come in behind Brett Kern, sit behind him for a year. Like, I'm sorry, who wouldn't want to learn behind Brett Kern? Like he's one
Right.
of the best punters. Granted, his numbers were kind of skewed this year because of injury and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be one of those things where he'll have his year and then possibly retire. I feel like this is sort of that end of the
Right.
road. And I'm like, why not just draft one of these punters coming out and let him sit behind Brett Kern for a year, and then maybe pick you up somebody, as for a backup in case something happens to Brett. Because I mean,
Right.
when Brett went down and we had that shank of a punt, just that's why I think it's important. And
Right.
to me, a lot of people overlook special teams. And I'm like, special teams can literally win or lose you a game. And
Yep.
I think it's very important because, I mean, there are some great kickers coming out of the draft this year, some great college kickers.
Right.
Obviously, you're not going to give, like a first, second, third. But I feel like if you find somebody in the fifth or sixth round that's still there or hasn't been taken on the board, I feel like you take the shot. Like the Bengals, they drafted
Yep.
Evan McPherson. And look what happened. This kid went electric in the playoffs and the end of the, like, he was just incredible. And
Yep.
they're like, this is why we draft a kicker. And I'm like,
Exactly.
kicker. I think that notion is so crazy that people don't want to do that.
Now that punter that ran that 40 time, is that the same one that like booted it 80 yards
80
and got it
yards.
to
Sure was.
stop like right at the goal line?
Same one.
Like, I'm watching. I didn't really look at his 40 time, but I watched that kick and I'm like, yeah, it hit the goal line. It would have been a touchback, but I'm like, if the dude
He
is booting it
he
that far,
bombed it. It was
like
just
like if he gets that control to where it stops at the one, then you are talking about completely flipping the field from even inside your own 20. Like you're flipping it very well. So yeah, now I want to jump into, before we get into more of the trade talks and all that, have some comments here. Um, we have David's story. Do you think next season is Tannehill's last chance to prove he can win in big moments? Given the easy division, I think we should win the South again and make the playoffs. And, obviously that'll tie into some things that have happened in our division over the last couple of days. But given the way Tannehill's contract is structured and everything, I believe after this next year, there is that possible out if the Titans wanted to take it.
mhm.
But, and, we know he's the guy this year, going to put all faith in Tannehill. I have no doubt that he can lead us to winning the South again. And, we'll see what happens when the playoffs get here. It's kind of hard to tell because as of right now, we're talking about having Logan Woodside as the backup. I don't know what the quarterbacks in the draft will be looking like next year, but would you rather have Ryan Tannehill for another year or have Logan Woodside take over?
I'm going to wholeheartedly. I'm behind Tannehill. After he lost that last game, I just feel like he's at a point where he's going to be harder on himself than anybody could could ever be. Like we as fans felt that loss. John Robinson felt that loss.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone felt that loss, but that man probably has the weight of the world on him, and he's just determined to ball out. Like, um, I'm not gonna say that I have this thing. I'm not gonna say that the South is easy. It's an easy division to
Right.
win because it just takes one quarterback to make a difference. Like you saw what happened
Yep.
after Tannehill took over for Marcus. It literally flipped this entire offense. So I just feel like it really depends who the Colts draft. Like there's word of Jimmy Garoppolo. It's really weird to hear the names that are out there for them to have to take this year. So we're just gonna kind of
Yep.
like count our blessings on that because they get to go through quarterback purgatory and we don't, which is nice.
Right.
But yes, I feel like this is Tannehill's big moment. I feel like this is his year. How John Robinson constructs contracts like that, gives them 3 years. Usually there's a clause to
Right.
come out after the third year of the contract to kind of keep them from having to owe too much money, or if they want to get out, they can get out. And because those are void years, usually when you see
Right.
5-year contracts, those 2 years are void years anyways. So
Right.
it just kind of depends, because usually at that 3 year they decide if they're going to extend or not, or pick up that they'll extend them for one more year, then possibly pick up the 5th year option on it.
Right.
I honestly think they'll keep him for this year, see what he does. I hope for the best. I'm here for it.
Right.
I'm rooting him on. I'm cheering him, to a Super Bowl. Because if he gets a Super Bowl, that changes everybody's tune. And like
Yep.
he can have his ha ha, hush your mouth moment, and
Right.
he'll deserve it. He'll absolutely deserve it. I'm honestly, in my head, I think they're going to develop Logan Woodside, because I feel like they keep him for one or two reasons. One, because he's been in the system for like 2 years now, I believe, 2 or 3.
Yeah. 2 or 3.
He knows the system, and something, God forbid, was to happen to Tannehill. Boom, Logan's right there. He knows this team in and out. It's not going to obviously he needs NFL reps, to
Right.
keep them kind of fresh, but I feel like they're going to develop him. There's something that is keeping them from not letting them go.
Right.
Also, in the market where there's not really a lot of good backup quarterbacks, you need somebody that can at least, come in, know the system, and, take over in case anything happens. But I just feel like they're going to develop Logan. Granted, there is some, from what I've seen, probably some really good quarterbacks coming out next year in the draft.
Right.
Um, Not gonna lie, I'm a big Levi's fan from Kentucky.
Mm.
He's got if you ever watch a Kentucky game, watch a Kentucky football game. This guy is, to me, he reminds me, and Kentucky plays like Tennessee, which is really weird to say, but
Right.
he has the body, he has the arm strength, and he has the legs. He's not afraid to use his legs. He reminds me of Tannehill, just
Mm.
with a fresher arm, because I mean he's in college. So big Will fan. I don't remember if he claimed for the draft this year or not, but he's going to need to sit if he does. I don't think there's too many quarterbacks that are actually ready, like immediately to come
Right.
into the team. I feel like there's going to be a couple that sit and then maybe get their chance, sometime throughout the season. But I think they'll develop Logan and then possibly draft a quarterback for a competition. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
surprised if there's a QB competition. Um, so that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they'll just, Tannehill does his thing. They put their faith in him, and I believe he's going to take it from there. I feel like if you go out on this year, you kind of want to go out on top. So
Right. Yeah. And I think that's, to answer your question more, David, directly, I, like we said, they have an out after this year if they need
mhm,
it. If it gets to the big moment again and something happens, say Tannehill throws an interception, there's a turnover, something, then they may come back after all said and done, look at it and be like, okay, it's time for us to move on
mhm,
to another option. But at the same time, if they feel like Tannehill still gives them the best chance, then no, this won't be his last chance to prove that he can
mhm,
win in the big moments. And my wife put this comment in here. Titans Rossi put this out there. He has a video about it. And apparently, Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill have been requesting so much film already this offseason that the Titans are having to keep someone there to keep up with the requests that Tannehill and Henry are making. So that right there, you don't have Tannehill coming out. I don't know what everyone is really expecting with this. They want Tannehill to come out on social media and just be like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry." This and like you said, he's being harder on himself than anyone. We know how social media can get. Why would he come out and say that if everyone who already is ready to move on completely from him is just going to go on that post? And
Just
a lot of
trash him.
people, yeah, a
Just
lot of people get
trash
carried
him.
away
They
with
do.
how
It
much
got
they
so
they
bad.
trash someone.
It got so bad. And I Tannehill, for me though, if you really go back and look, he's not a very big social media guy. Like
Right.
he doesn't really come out. A couple of times throughout the season he did, but he wasn't a huge, I need to come and tell people this and this. I'm like, why would you why would you tell people um when they've already written you off? Like, I feel
Right.
like nothing that they could say, nothing that he could say would calm down anybody. I feel like at this point he understands that. I think the organization understands that. And to be honest, he doesn't owe anybody an explanation. I get
Right.
people want to sue that, but I feel like we depend so much on social media. It's gotten that bad to the point where you're like, oh, he needs to come out with an apology or else I don't forgive him. I'm like, at the end of the day, this man is the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It's their decision. It's not going to. I feel like even if he came out with an apology, it's not going to change anybody's minds. I feel like it's just going to make people mad all over again. So,
Right. Exactly.
I'm like, there's really no point in that.
Yeah. Exactly. And I've said it on the show before, said it on other people's shows. As as long as Tannehill is the quarterback of the Titans, he's going to have my support. Have 100% faith in him in the regular season. And my only thing, because as fans, and I know I've done this before, and I'm not saying that everyone is like this, and if that's what they're doing, but it's okay to look at the team and be like, okay, we can improve here. Tannehill can improve here, do this, and he's going to work on that. That's what these guys do. They are professional athletes. This is always looking at ways that I can get better, do things better. That's what they're doing. So I want him to prove me wrong in the playoffs. Prove to me, hey, if a team shuts down Derrick Henry, you can come out and light them up and lead us to that victory. Like that's what I want to see. I want him to prove me wrong. There's a lot of people that I feel like, even though they say, hey, yeah, let Tannehill prove me wrong, I feel like they still want him to actually fail instead. So, and Stephani, I think now is a good time to get into a segment that I know you really enjoy on the show here. And, just before we get into what all the Titans have done, all the trades going on around the league, I feel like this is a perfect time. So we're going to jump into our best bets segment presented by DraftKings. And DraftKings, March is here. So we know that means March Madness is starting to ramp up. And college basketball fans, any sports fans, like I said, it's March Madness. Everyone watches March Madness.
It's insane.
But you can join in the action on the court during the biggest tournament of the year with DraftKings Sportsbook. Turn your team's victory into your own big win. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do win. It's that simple. If they win, you win. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still join the college hoops action with DraftKings pools. Everyone can play free pools all March long for a shot at a shared over $250,000 in prizes. Simply join a pool and answer questions like who will make it to the next round and who will hit the most three-pointers. Then track your results. All you have to do, new customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. See the description for more details. And if you know of someone that has a gambling problem, if you have a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537 or 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-522-4700, 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. 1-800-BETS-OFF, 1-800-770-STOP, 877-8-467-369. Visit opgr.org. Call or text TN Redline 1-800-889-9789 or 1-888-532-3500. Again, must be 21 years or older, physically present in several states. Like I said, that'll be down in the description. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And I want to jump back to the Super Bowl because I believe you got a bet right for that. You gave us some advice, said, hey, here's what I'll be betting on. And it hit.
It's kind of like, Matt Stafford has a trend. He was great. Congratulations on the Super Bowl win, but you're not going to get out of a game without Matt Stafford throwing an interception. And I'm like, I knew, it was crazy. Like I said, I don't usually take juice that's like 150 or higher. I think it was right at 150, 155. Some books had it at I think DraftKings had it at 145. It was right on that brink, so shout out to DraftKings for the line. But yeah, when I saw that and you tweeted me, it's like, you caught. I said, it's just one of them things when you notice a trend about, certain quarterbacks. You're like, they can't get out of games without at least chucking it once to another teammate, to a teammate from a different team. So,
right, exactly. And now looking forward, like I said, we got March Madness going on. We got the NBA still going on. You got any bets out there that you think, and for everyone, this is not betting advice, just bets that look good to us.
Let me preface this by saying everybody has their nights. Like I will use tonight, for example, Scotty Barnes from the Raptors got me tonight. His line was like 15.5 points. He ended at 15. Definitely, most important tip I could ever give anybody that's betting: bankroll management. Even if you're on like a streak, just keep that bankroll the same until you feel comfortable moving it up. And if you move it up maybe $5 or a couple bucks. Even if you start betting out at like $1 or $2, don't ever be ashamed of your betting amount because everybody starts somewhere. And you bet within your budget. Don't ever exceed, or if you have a limit for so many weeks or you lose, like for example, tonight I lost a couple bets. So what I will do in that instance is I will go in and look at my bankroll and I will pull money out, because if you don't have money in it, you're not going to bet it. So just take some of that money out, if you need to. And this ties into the gambling addiction, ties into the numbers that you need to call, the resources that are there. My inbox is always open if you have questions, or if you feel like it's stressful, or if it feels like it's getting to a point where you can't control yourself. Please reach out to somebody. Take a break. I know it's hard, but take a break. 1, 2, 3 days. Get your mind right, and then you can go right back into your accounts. Delete them off your phone if you need to. But it's very important to, if you feel yourself getting stressed, take a break. That's your body's way of saying, hey, I need you to step back from this for a minute or two, because it's getting overwhelming. Basketball, though, I've really gotten big into the NBA since starting
Mm-hmm.
betting. Like I said, Scotty Barnes usually hits his rebounds and his points, but tonight was just he was just off by either one or two. So it's not like it was even a bad loss. It was just it was a bad beat because it was lost by the hook. Um,
Yep.
but when it comes to the NBA, for me personally, I like I said, I don't bet. It's hard for me to bet on bigger names like like Devin Booker or John Morant or things like
Right.
that because I feel like everybody bets on them and it's just a recipe for disaster. So
Right.
like guys like Scotty Barnes from the Raptors, he's really good in his points and his boards, or boards and assist. For the Grizzlies, we can go with Desmond Bain has been on a heater lately. Like, I don't know what happened. He woke up and just decided, I'm going to just, you know. Also, look for storylines. NBA is huge with storylines. Like, for example, the other last night with the 76ers battling the Nets, I had told my group chat where I have a betting group chat with a couple of friends I've met through gambling Twitter, and I said, everybody's talking about, Harden and Irvin and everybody, but people are totally forgetting that Seth Curry was a part of that trade, and he got shipped out for a
Mm-hmm.
bag of peanuts. And I bet on him last night, and he blew up. That was a revenge game for
Yep.
Seth Curry. He took it over and never looked back. And then I posted, I said, everybody was talking about these big names, but you have to sometimes look deeper into the storylines because there's always that one guy that's like, I want to put my foot on him. And that's what Steph Curry did last night.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for me, I am partial to the parlays. I like the parlays because I start parlaying that stuff together, and my little bet. I'm like,
You see
oh,
them
my little
odds
bet
getting
here.
bigger.
Yeah, my little bet here can win a lot. And my thing is when I do these parlays, I'm looking and I'm like, because like you said, you have the bigger names like Ja and Jason Tatum. Like these guys can easily go out and drop 30 every night. But when I'm putting my parlays together, I'm not putting them to get 30 points. I'm like, okay, Ja Morant, 20 plus points,
Oh, yeah.
Jason Tatum, 20. And so, I'm going down through here, making my parlays. And what usually gets me is something that they should hit easily. I put that in my parlay and it never fails. Last night, I had a parlay going. I was doing, I parlayed 3+ 3-pointers made
Mhm.
and was going down through there, got to looking, had a couple different games parlayed in, got to the Warriors. I was like, Steph and Clay, like, no doubt about it. Put put them in there, and Clay goes 2 for 9 from three. I needed, and Clay was the last one that I needed.
Oh,
I needed
no.
one more. Every other one hit. I need, and this is after James Harden had a poor game.
Oh, absolutely horrible.
I
He costs
but I
people so much money.
yeah
Vegas had that game, and when I
yeah
say don't, when people hear me talk about Vegas, it's literally just one of those things where I'm kind of like that weird like theory type person
hmm
that thinks like the big things out to get you type stuff. Vegas
right
had that game written all over because like everybody was on Harden, and then you had
hmm
Irvin with so many, and people were parlaying like big points and stuff like
yep
that, and major parlays. And then there was such a blowout that they ended up sitting Kyrie for like the last
yeah
part, so you couldn't get points. Joel Embiid kept getting foul trouble. I was like, who's going to be left on the court by the fourth
exactly
period because everybody's going to be in foul trouble. There's
hmm
everybody's getting fouls, and I'm like, this game really did have Vegas because unless you bet on like Seth Curry, James Harden's
right
threes, and then like maybe one other person from I had Tyrese Maxey. We're not going to talk about that guy. Uh,
oh no
woo, man, he just dud. Like that game to me had just Vegas just all on it.
I I actually had another same game parlay going for that. Going back to Clay right quick. Coming down to the end of the game, I'm not watching. I'm not watching it on TV. I'm keeping up with it on the ESPN app.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, sometimes it'll update and it'll say like Warriors, and then it'll just say made 27. And so I'm looking at it as it's getting down to the last couple minutes, because here's what's really bad. For Klay Thompson, he had 2 with like over a quarter and a half left.
Mm-hmm.
So Curry had already hit his threes. I'm looking at a quarter and a half left. Klay is hitting another
You're
3.
getting confident.
I'm cashing this. I'm
building.
good.
It's building. It's
yeah.
building at the point.
Klay, he keeps missing, keeping up with it on the ESPN app. It pops that up, Warriors made. I'm like, that's him. Nope, Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole's also who I bet on.
A couple seconds later.
Jordan Poole got me some money yesterday. I'm not going to
lie. I don't like Jordan Poole right now, because I should have put him in my parlay. I did. In the last 2 minutes, he made the 2 biggest threes for him, and I'm like, really, Klay? Like, you could just one more.
You just had a little bit of heartbreak, just a little bit of heartbreak right there.
Yeah, like you said, going with the 76ers, Maxley, is that his name?
Tyrese Maxey, yeah.
Or what? Yeah, Maxey. I had another same game parlay going, threes made. All of them hit except for him. I needed, I think, 2 from him.
2. He was over 1.5. Yep.
I'm like,
and they juiced that line too, which was the worst part. That 1.5 was juiced a little bit, because they're like, we think people are still going to take it, but it didn't happen. Like, that man went, I think he had 2 points at the end of the game. It was not happening for Tyrese.
Yeah.
Like, it was not. And yeah, let's go. Bet that. I'm not telling you, those 10-cent bets, they add up. Like, I'm telling you, like, I restarted my DraftKings account maybe like a couple weeks ago, and I started out, and then I have friends start out with like 10, 15, 20 cent bets. But you can make so many and not feel that loss, that if you bet like $5, $10, $20 and that bet doesn't hit. I start out with mine. I do $3 and like something to either turn it into $5 or $6, depending on what the bet is. So that's how I bankroll. And then when they came out, the MLB was back. When I tell you, I was the happiest, because I've made quite a bit last year off of MLB. MLB is probably my favorite sport to bet, because there's so many things. You think you like your parlays now, wait till you get to the homer parlays. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. Parlays are probably going to stress you out.
I may have to stay away from them, but
I did team totals. Yeah, totals were my thing.
I may have to stay away from them. Like I said, the basketball gets me enough.
But there's so many baseball games. That's the crazy part. There's so many things you could bet on.
Right. I'll tell you what got me the most. A couple weeks ago, I was betting on some college basketball, and I'm talking, I was taking odds where, what I was betting on, it was like for each team minus 500 or more. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, this team is absolutely supposed to dominate. And I went with my parlays. I had it to a point where I was doing 25 leg parlays. And the bet that I was putting down was going to win me a couple grand.
Ooh.
And I tell you, I ended up getting one night 21 out of 25, right? And then the next night 22 out of 25, right? And the ones that I missed on, I'm like, that was the one that was like favored the most. So yeah, those those hurt.
Those leave a little bit of a sting for you. I was trying to find to see. Yeah, those are the ones that get you. Like the odds on favorite, then especially if it's like the last leg, and you're like you're so confident it's gonna hit, and then
Hmm.
boom, it just crashes and burns. And it's usually like in March Madness, that's kind of a reason why I stay away from March Madness. I'm not super huge on basketball, on college
Yeah.
basketball, but I feel like March Madness is just a recipe for craziness. Like I've seen some crazy wins, like that Chattanooga win the other day, insane. Like that last
Yep.
shot from the logo. And then I see people who lose on those parlays because they have that one underdog or that minus like
Yeah.
750 winner that epically loses to a team that they should
Yep.
have had no business losing. Like no telling how many people had Gonzaga in their parlays when St. Mary's beat them the first time. Like,
Oh yeah.
March Madness is nuts.
It is. You know, I did have a little bit of luck tonight on NBA. I done a little parlay with the Grizzlies and Knicks, and it worked out. Like I said, when I'm looking at this, I'm doing like RJ Barrett 20 plus,
Yes.
Julius Randle 15 plus, Morant 25 plus points. And then when I'm looking at the threes, I'm like, okay, one made three, one made three, one made three. Like, parlaying that
I did
together.
that. I did that tonight, and that's what got me. I actually pulled down. I did Scotty Barnes 14 points, Scotty Barnes 7 rebounds,
Hmm.
which usually gets 8 or 9, so I wasn't really worried about that. And then
Right.
I did McCall Bridges from the Suns 1 3-pointer, and then I think his name is Lonnie or Lenny Shamnet for 1 3-pointer, and
Hmm.
I hit on the points. Scotty Barnes had 6 rebounds, and
Oh no.
Shamit didn't hit 1 3 pointer. So yeah, that was just a
Uh,
little bit of a stinger, like little bit of a stinger.
that. Yeah, that's rough.
It's rough
Uh,
to get you out here in this, but it's okay. It happens.
it does, and it's fun because especially with football season gone, I I have something that I'm like, okay, I'm not really going against anyone here, but it
Mhm.
it it gets that competitive drive going a little bit.
It does.
And like Stephanie said, if it starts overtaking you too much, there's numbers down in the description that you can reach out to. Like she said, you can reach out to her, reach out to me. Just if you need someone to talk to, if you need to delete the apps for a little while, do that. It doesn't hurt. It will be better for you in the long run.
It would.
And Stephanie, now I want to hop back over to talking about everything going on in the NFL. Saw some big trades happen.
Yeah.
And, see the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks are going in rebuild mode, it looks like, as they release Bobby Wagner, which I did not see coming.
I didn't either. I
And
That was
then
probably the last one.
trade Russell Wilson. Yeah. Like, because, and then going back to the combine, they're talking about how there's no talks of trading Russell Wilson. And then next thing you know, Russell Wilson is traded to the Broncos for Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. So, I'm not really sure who won that trade exactly. I mean, you can make the argument that Denver gets their guy, that they've got a good defense. Who knows? Von Miller may be coming back to them now after he's got his championship with the Rams. And that offense, they have some weapons. Like I said, you got Russell Wilson there now leading the charge. Going to be interesting to see. The AFC West, you have Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert. I guess you can throw Derek Carr in there. But that was one of the big trades. And then you have the Colts, who, Colts fans were so excited last year trading for Carson Wentz. You get your guy, you give up a second round pick that could become a first round pick if he plays more than a certain percentage of snaps. Well, he played more of those snaps, so now you don't have a first round pick. And now Wentz is gone to the Washington Commanders for a third round pick this year, a second round pick this year, and a third round pick next year that could potentially become a second round pick if Wentz plays 70% of the snaps. And, either way, you didn't. I don't know that you really got your value back for him, Colts fans. So, and I thought he was your answer, but now, as Stephani mentioned earlier, you're going to be in that quarterback turmoil that we experienced for years.
Darius Leonard made it known like he's feeling it. Like he hates that this is his 5th year with a different quarterback that he's going to have to play and get to know and things like that. And I'm going to tell you the real winner of that whole Carson Wentz saga is the Eagles. Like, let's just be honest. The Eagles have won that entire thing. Like, they're still winning now because they got that first round pick. They pretty much kind of screwed over the Colts in a sense, but the Colts did it to themselves because of the fact I don't feel like they thought Carson was going to play 70% of the snaps. See, I feel like they're thinking like, oh, maybe we could get away with Carson not making it all the way through and then get to keep our pick and they get a second rounder. But nope, Carson, the test of time, paid the 70%. Boom, automatically took their only first round pick of the draft. So the Eagles, definitely the winner of that trade because they're still reaping the benefits from all this. And I posted after that trade that I wanted to be in the room with the Commanders and Chris Ballard when he unloaded that. I think he only wins because he was able to unload the entire contract. Like, you got Washington to pay $35 million plus a $5 million sign-on bonus that Carson Wentz was due this coming up week. Like, what did you say to them to get them to do that? Like, obviously, I feel like Chris Ballard should be in the hot seat.
Yeah.
But as a Titans fan, I'm like, don't change. Just keep him there. Like, I like Chris in the Colts because he could just keep them in turmoil for as long as they allow him. But he got so much praise after his contract. And I'm like, I feel like any other GM would have been sent up a creek if they would have wasted. They pretty much just rented Carson Wentz for a year and still lost a first round pick. Like, you didn't get anything out of that. Granted, you're not going to have to do it Carson Wentz, which is sad because I was really starting to like him.
And didn't even make the playoffs.
No, didn't do it. Like, they wasted a whole year. Couldn't be my GM. Couldn't be my GM.
Nope.
And then word on the street from the Broncos fans is that they're happy about the trade. I thought, though, that losing Noah Fant could be very much bigger than what I think they're anticipating. He's a great tight end. He fit in their system perfectly. The Seahawks needed a tight end because let's face it, after Greg Olsen, they just went to the left with tight ends for them. They didn't really have anybody last year that they could consider a tight end one out on the field. So they got a good pick for Noah. Like, and they get to have him for a couple of years because Noah's he's fresh. So I believe in that aspect. And also, I feel like they think they can sign it or draft a tight end and just develop them. But I'm like, tight ends take at least 2 seasons to develop. And so Noah is now going into like possibly his biggest and most developed that he's going to be going into his next season. And the Seahawks are going to get to reap the benefits from that. And those are positions I feel like some people overlook. Like, tight ends are hard to develop into the piece that you want them to be. And Noah was getting there. And so, going to have to see how that affects them later on because I don't think they have a backup tight end. And if they do, I don't think it's somebody that they consider tight end one.
Right. Yeah. That was the biggest part of the trade to me that I was like, you have these receivers that, can go out and make plays. You're missing that quarterback. You have a tight end who, like you said, with Noah Fant, he's probably really going to start coming into his own this next year. So I was surprised when I saw his name included in that trade for Russell Wilson. So, like you said, they may really be feeling that one come this upcoming season. And now switching things over to the Titans. Titans fans got their wish, and Harold Landry is back. The Titans signed him to a 5-year, $87.5 million extension. 52.5 million is guaranteed, with the cap hit for this year being a little over 5 million. Stephani will be back here in just a minute. She was lagging a little bit, lagging on my end too. This weather here.
There we
There you are.
go. Hello.
Yeah, that I noticed. I didn't know if the lagging was on my end or your end. This weather and my really bad Wi-Fi, unfortunately. So, but just mentioning about Harold Landry, he's back. 5 years, 87.5 million. 52.5 million is guaranteed. The cap hit is only a little over 5 million for this next year.
When I tell you, I'm so excited. Um, One, that not only that he was signed, like he didn't get there was no, like, I didn't even freak out when they said that they weren't tagging him, because I said this, the other day. I feel like they were
Mm-hmm.
doing that out of respect because they figured that they was going to get a deal. So why tag him? I feel like if you put the tag on him, it's
Right.
just, you're just delaying the inevitable. So they felt like they could get a
Right.
contract done, and they did. And to pay him, he deserves it. Like, this man had the
Mm-hmm.
best statistical game season of his career, like, and he never stopped working. He could have easily
Right.
given up after the year before, but he didn't. He stuck to it. And we have a pass rush. Like, let's just say that again. Like, we have a pass rush. Like, people they have to take
Yes.
him and our rest of our front four into account when they all play together. They feed off one another. And I'm so happy that we get to keep everybody
Mm-hmm.
intact. They get to play for another season. I'm so excited that they paid Harold. He deserved every penny.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad to see this defense continue on, this core, this
Mhm.
front four. Like you said, they just feed so well off of each other. And I'm like you, whenever it come out that they weren't going to tag him, I saw a lot of people freaking out. But I'm also looking at it like, why, if you think that you're going to get a deal done, why throw that tag on him for 18.5 million? Like, just see if you can get it worked out. Like,
I mean,
there's still
they
several
technically
days
had a whole
before the
week.
open market.
They had a
Yeah.
whole week to come up with the deal before he would even hit the free agency. So, I mean, they
Right.
had time. And I'm glad that they didn't have to throw that tag. I feel like that word just, it appeases people. It kind of calms them down, like, oh, he can't go anywhere.
Mm.
But he can also choose not to play. He can say,
Yeah,
hey, you
exactly.
guys tag me, I don't have to play. I can make that decision if I want to. So why shake that boat when both sides?
Right.
And then you basically now have Landry for his prime. Like, you have him for the
Mhm.
entire of his prime time, with a clause to come out after he's like 28, or
Right.
29. I'm like, that is more than well enough deserved contract, because you're literally getting
Yes.
him in the best part of his career.
Exactly. And, the Titans also re-signed long snapper Morgan Cox, wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Akina, and quarterback Logan Woodside, and Tierra Tart.
Mhm.
And, Tart is another guy who I felt like he needed to be back as
He
well.
did.
Morgan Cox, we need him back. You mentioned special teams. You got to have a good long snapper.
You do.
If those snaps are off, it messes with the kicker. It messes with the punter. Like you got to have consistency there.
You saw what
And
happened when our snapper got COVID last year, or
mhm,
and he was out for the year before technically, and he was out for a couple of games, and it just messed with the whole special teams because you have to move one guy inside who has to
yep,
practice those snaps and may have not at that time, but the fact that you didn't even hear Morgan's name the entire season, like I cannot think
right,
of one moment where you heard his name or them mentioning a bad snap. That's exactly what you're looking for. That's the pivotal piece that you're looking for on the anchor of your special
hmm,
team is your long snapper,
right,
so especially for kicks and all of that, like you need somebody that you could trust. So definitely excited to see him. I'm very, very excited that they were able to restructure Brett Kern's
yes,
contract. I love Brett Kern. He's the longest tenured Titan that we have left. I feel like
hmm,
he just holds that little bit of nostalgia for
yeah,
fans. That last little bit of what Titans used to be was, and Brett Kern's that piece.
right,
So, like I said, I'm not going to be upset if they were maybe, hey, draft a kicker and then let him
right,
develop, or a punter and let him develop behind Brett Kern, because I feel like they need a reliable source.
hmm,
Granted, some of Brett Kern's, and like I said, he was coming off of an injury and all that stuff.
right,
And so I think this year, with a healthy year for Brett Kern, he's going to get right back to form. So I just, Brett Kern won us some games. Like people,
hmm,
like I said, people tend to kind of overlook that, but do not ever overlook the value of a punter. Like he's basically an extra defensive player. He flips
yep,
that field for us, and pins people back where the defense can just have fun, and back there keeping them from going down the field. So
hmm.
definitely excited to see that Brett Kern was restructured and they got to keep him for another year.
Yeah, me too. And there's some more guys who over the next couple of days we're probably going to see
Hmm.
their contracts get restructured a little bit. I mean, you think of Taylor Lewan, we could possibly see his get restructured. Byard said that he would be open for it. Um, and there's probably a couple more guys. And then, of course, we do have the guys that have been released.
Hmm.
And, you know, probably the top name there, actually, I know it's the top name right now, is Roger Saffold. Then you also have Kendall Lamb and Darrington Evans. Touching on Evans right quick, this was a move that I pretty much figured would be made after he
Hmm.
got hurt early on. I mean, the best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available, unfortunately. I was excited for him when
I
the
was
Titans
too.
drafted him. I love the kick and punt return potential, having the a quicker guy back there with Henry to switch it up. And unfortunately, he just couldn't stay healthy. Kendall Lamb, that I also kind of felt like that one would be coming just because there were a couple times when he got plugged in this year that he would have done better just stay on the sidelines
Yeah,
because it was like he wasn't out there
he wasn't
anyway.
used.
And then Roger Saffold, I hate to see him go, but also understand the business side of it.
Hmm.
Whenever you're going down multiple times a game hurt, you have a big cap number, you're getting older. It was
Yeah.
the writing was kind of on the wall for either him or Lawan to be
Yeah.
gone, and
So I mean,
I felt like Sappho would be the one that was gone.
to see Saffold go, I was just kind of like, okay, so they're really going to try to rework Lawan's schedule, contract out, because it was going to be either one. It was going to be one or the other. It was going to be Saffold or Lawan. So I'm okay
Mm-hmm.
with them letting go of Saffold, because also our offensive line is getting older. And they are going to have to start developing guys to be able to plug in. And there's a lot of offensive linemen coming out of the draft too that are, I think, ready for the NFL. So to be able to kind of get our offensive line a little bit younger because they're all older, and
Mhm.
they're the guys up front I think Nate Davis is the youngest
Yes.
offensive lineman that we have. So definitely gonna have to start getting younger. I'm just gonna like these next 2 years are going to be very interesting for that offensive line because it was an expensive offensive line, but it was worth it.
Mhm.
But with defensive linemen, as we see defensive tackles getting faster, you're going to need younger and faster offensive linemen that can
Yep.
keep up with those fast defensive linemen. And it's just like this next 2 years is going to be very, very different. There's going to be a lot of turnover. There's going to be some changes. That line is going to get reworked. I'm not going to be surprised if we don't draft a center. I think a center might be on the books because I love Ben Jones with all my heart. Like
Mhm.
sign that guy to a lifetime contract because, like you said, the best ability is availability, and Ben Jones is that in a nutshell. He's
Yep.
available. He's been so concrete for this offensive line as long as he's been here, but he's
Mhm.
getting older, and you're gonna have to draft a center eventually.
Yep.
So this next 2 years are going to be very interesting for the offense. I think one of the biggest things that I think they need to do is either figure out what they need to do besides Taylor Lewan is Ben Jones. They're going to have to get him a contract. Granted, I think
Yeah.
most of these guys are going to take team friendly contracts because they won a Super Bowl. So I think that's where it
Right.
kind of benefits us. But yeah, like I said, it hurt me to say out loud to draft a center because I absolutely love Ben Jones, but I have to understand that he's getting older. This offensive line's
Right.
getting older, and we have to start getting younger and developing younger guys for the line.
Right. And with the interior of the line, it kind of made more sense to have Saffold be the guy that gets
Mhm.
cut because it's we have guys on the team right now that can jump
Can fill that
into
spot.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can fill that spot. They already know the system, everything else. So, and you really don't want to go crazy and just try to revamp your whole offensive
Yeah.
line
At
in one
one
off
time, because
season.
it's not gonna. They tried to do that with the
Yeah,
Chiefs, and look how that turned out.
yeah. So you don't want to do that. So I feel like I'm really hoping they bring Ben Jones back again. But
Hmm.
you have Aaron Brewer who he's played center a little bit, but maybe you look at drafting a center too. There's no doubt. I feel like they are going to draft an offensive lineman at some point in this draft.
Yeah.
Me personally, I hope it's not in one of the early rounds,
Hmm.
but you never know. John Robinson and Vrabel are going to do what they think is
Best for the
best for
team.
this team. Do you think any more cuts are going to be coming over the next couple of days? I know people have talked about Jackrabbit possibly. They think he should be gone. You're kind of left up in the air of okay, do you think Farley's going to come back completely healthy, ready to go week one? Can you get maybe another vet or someone draft another cornerback? Because, like I said, there were some fast cornerbacks and eh, coming up. So, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be any more cuts to come?
I'm not gonna be surprised if it's Jackrabbit, just because I feel like he's gonna be a cap casualty.
Mm,
I I'm a little like 50-50 with Jackrabbit because he made some bonehead mistakes,
right,
but at the same time, you can't teach veteran presence. Like, he brings a veteran presence that if you take him out of the equation, the only person that has that presence outside of him is Kevin Byard, like
right.
in the secondary. Like, you have no veteran presence back there besides Kevin. Granted, I'm excited to see Elijah Molden develop.
Hmm.
I'm excited to see Farley develop. Like, we have some studs that are going to come back, and hopefully
Yep.
they have a healthy year. I mean, Molden is playing like a madman. Like, let's just get that out the way. Like, Molden is probably my favorite pick from last year. Underrated too, just an underrated draft pick last
Hmm.
year. Um, but as far as Jackrabbit goes, I won't be surprised if they let him go, but I kind of hope they can just be like, hey, you want a vet friendly deal. Let's keep you from 1 year, just until Farley and everybody else gets in the mix.
Right.
I feel like I hope they can kind of rework Zach Cunningham's contract. If not, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to let him go. But I feel like them claiming him in waivers, I don't think they're going to let him go that quickly.
Right.
Because that Zach came in and made an immediate impact to that defense. Like, for as big of a guy he is, to be as fast, I wouldn't
Yep.
want to give that up. I will rework his contract. And I feel like he
Yeah.
loves Rabel enough to rework his contract too. So,
Right. Yeah. And, you have Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown, who this was the last year of their
I
contracts.
feel like Rashawn's
Jayon,
gone. I feel
yeah,
Rashawn's gone.
Rashawn's gone. I know Jayon come back last year on a team-friendly deal. I don't think he'll be back. I
Mm-mm.
think that the Titans have saw what they have in Cunningham, Long, and even Rice. Unfortunately, Rice got hurt last year. But with those
Man,
three guys, I feel
Rice's
like,
leg just snapped in that game. I
yeah,
felt so bad because Monty was just like, you could definitely see his potential, his
mhm,
confidence growing in the game. But like you said, between the ones that are coming back, it's just going to be very interesting to see that core
right,
when they're healthy. So I definitely don't see Jayon. Jayon just, I'm kind of glad he took that team friendly deal. They knew what they were
right,
doing. That's when I said I trust J Rob. He knows what he's doing. He kind of sees that writing on the wall before it's time,
mhm,
and he gave Jayon that chance. But with the guys coming in off being healthy, fresher, that core, they're probably going to move on from Jayon. I don't see them resigning.
yeah, yeah. I agree. So really, that's everything that we got for tonight. From talking about fun Super Bowl experiences, trades, betting, of course, which is always fun. I'm telling, I have so much fun talking with you about that for our segment because it's different. Other than just getting on here talking about the Titans and what's going on around the league, it just brings a different atmosphere talking about that.
It
So
does. It's so much
it,
fun.
it is. And Stephani, I want to thank you again for coming on tonight and just talking about everything with us. It's been a blast.
Oh, thank you for having me back. And anytime you want to talk, like even like just for betting segments, I'm here.
Yep.
I'm here. MLB starts up, and I'm gonna tell you my timeline. I apologize to anybody, and that's what I told people when the off season hits. I'm about food and gambling until football comes back. Those are my two things. And MLB, I tweet so much because there's so much going on, and I do so much live betting.
Mhm.
That it's such a blast because it just, like you said, brings a whole atmosphere. I get to
Right.
talk about something else other than football. I love football, don't get me wrong, but it's nice
Right.
to talk about other sports sometimes. So
It
definitely a lot of
is.
fun.
It is. Everyone, thank y'all for being in the live chat. Y'all were active tonight. If anyone was new, like I've said before, make sure you subscribe so you never miss when we do new videos. Go check us out on the audio version of the podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us there. Leave us a 5-star rating. This has been Titans Time. And as always, tighten up.